Welcome back to week 15. Oh, wait. This isn't the waiver wire video, the weekly waiver wire video. I got confused because I'm here joined here by Dap Scout here. Usually it's my boy Nick Zaniboni, but who's actually a married man now. He's off somewhere gallivanting the globe, I believe, somewhere enjoying a honeymoon and doing all those things that newlyweds do. So what better way for someone else to fill in right now than have JP here? Usually you see us on the waiver wire videos weekly, but I thought why not bring him back? He's filled in a couple times here on the on deck circle, and it's always great to have you back, JP.
Well, thank you.
As you know, you've been here before. We start the show with a cold open question of the week. This week, if you were to make your ultimate sandwich, what would you put on it, and what would it be?
Okay, so I didn't want to talk during that open because I know how big you guys are like, oh, we have to get to our cold open questions. So, hey, thanks for having me on. And I'll talk about that in a second. But, all right, sandwich. This is easy. All right, first of all, I need to get the mustard with like the mustard seeds in it, kind of like the rough mustard comes in the jars and then that squirty stuff. You know, it needs to be like we're doing serious sandwiches.
Yeah.
Need to have that mustard seed kind of in there. Just give that roughness, kind of with a little bit of a, I wouldn't say spicy, but just a little bit of a bite to it on the mustard. Really important. Then I would get 2 big or 3 big pickles, just kind of cut lengthwise to really cover. I'm a big dill fan, but also sweet, those like sandwich pickles as well. Or I go sweet and sour. I mean, sorry, sweet, whatever, sweet and sour, I don't know. But any of those fine. Then I'm going like roast beef or honey baked ham. Maybe 2 slices of like a Swiss cheese or a white cheese. And then make sure that the bread, this is key, is toasted. I don't want it heavily toasted where like, where the crust is like crumbling in your mouth and you're like, it's like absorbing every point of moisture. No, I just want it lightly toasted. And then just cut that thing in half, take a big old bite, just have it all squeezed together. Oh, perfect. That's my day.
Man, yours isn't that far off from mine. I'm going to go with sourdough bread.
Okay.
Dijon mustard.
All right.
Shout out to the stone ground mustard, I think it was called that you wanted, but I'm gonna go Dijon mustard.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's exactly what I want. Thank you. I couldn't think of the darn thing.
I'm gonna go pickles as well.
All right.
Then I'm gonna go ham. 2 pieces of sharp or maybe even extra sharp cheddar.
Okay.
A light amount of lettuce. And then another small little dollop of Hellman's mayonnaise. And then, like lightly toasted. None of that, my mouth is bleeding afterwards because I just chomped down on the hardest toasted sandwich ever. And cut on diagonals. It's been scientifically proven if you cut your sandwich in a triangle, it's more delicious. Also, shout out to like a toasted or like a deep fried like peanut butter and jelly too. That's pretty far.
Okay, thank you for bringing it up. These Crustables, I know everybody's talking about them like their latest cracks. I haven't had one yet.
Okay.
Is this something where I need to prepare myself for a brand new flavor, or is it just the right making of a peanut butter jelly sandwich?
I think it's a lot of like, it depends. I think people get off on the process of it because my kids love Uncrustables, but at the price that they are in the store, it's insane. You can literally, I went on Amazon, got an Uncrustables mold, and I just make my own Uncrustables for my kids' lunches. I swear to God. And I'm not even kidding. It saves like half the cost.
Okay, but before you did that, should I get an actual Uncrustable just to enjoy the brand before I go cheap? Okay,
you have to at least try it. But I'm saying, if you get like a box of 10, they're pushing like $8, $7 or something like that for a box of 10 or 12. It's insane. So there we go. That's our cold open question of the week. What sandwiches are the best?
All right. Well, before we get to the rest, I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's always awesome to have you to be with you every week in the waiver wires. And this is great for me because we don't, obviously, with the waiver wire, we don't talk about prospects. We're not going to be like, hey, let's talk about Jack Leiter, in the minors, because he's not coming up. Nobody's going to pick him on the waiver wire. So it's fun to kind of do a deep dive here. Like a vast majority of the leagues I play in are Dynasty, so I love this. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of time right now, we're that time of year, we talk about it, it's getting the end of the baseball season here, but a lot of Dynasty leagues, they usually push for roto leagues just because it kind of, hinders more for like the best overall team. So keep with us here on the On Deck Circle. We got a few more episodes left coming here. And then once the off season hit, we'll probably go back down to like, bi-monthly or once a month or something like that. But we'll be here with you to the end of September for sure. And then we'll get back to, covering some more hot button topics, like winter meetings and such in the off season. But baseball's still in swing.
Hey, before we jump in, I have a question to you about a dynasty strategy I had.
Okay.
So, you're at the almost end of the season. You have to decide what you're doing with your team. In one dynasty league, I have Ohtani and Trout. So what I decided to do was kind of push my chips all in. Because I only have them for like the end of this year. Ohtani only have till the end of this year. So I decided to trade my number one prospect that I had, and then a few other top prospects. I didn't have a lot because I was, obviously I have a pretty win now team. And then all my players got hurt, including Ohtani. And now I'm kind of stuck. So I just decided to drop all the players that I just got via trade. Oh, wait, I'm talking about the Angels. That's not me, because I'm not an idiot. What the heck were they doing?
At some point, it's like, how like in a fantasy league, like all the owners get together and like, what's going on with this guy, man? We need to, you can't be dropping these guys mid, at the end of the playoffs here, and you're going to be dropping like top tier talent on the waiver wire. This is like one of those things that like the commission comes in and goes, whoa, no.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things. Like, if it happened in a dynasty league or a fantasy league, the commission would be like, no. The fact that it's happening in real life and it's acceptable,
it's
mind blowing.
The timeline of the Angels, the last like month, because the trade deadline was the 31st the 1st or 2nd of August. So it's been a very, very weird month for the Angels. I'm not quite sure what they're doing, and that ownership might need to look into a new general manager, because that is some of the most bizarre stuff I've seen happen. For all of you that may not know or didn't know, I don't know how you didn't. If you're watching the show, I'm sure you heard the Angels traded for Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez, and for whatever reason, after a month of them, they go, you know what? You're just gonna DFA them, along with Matt Moore and Hunter Renfroe, who, Renfroe's not the greatest, but he's having a solid season. I think he's got over 20 home runs.
You could get something for him.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're so worried about being under the luxury tax, they're not getting Ohtani.
Right.
Ohtani, no way Ohtani's gonna be like, oh yeah, this dumpster fire. I'm staying.
The fact that you go from, again, like end of July, being like, oh, we're all in. We're gonna keep Ohtani, even though we're not gonna get him in the off season. We're gonna push our chips in an AL West that was already highly competitive, with the Rangers being one of the best teams in baseball. They decided they're going to go out and try, and we're only a relief pitcher and a starting pitcher away from competing with the Rangers, was just absurd. So for them to not trade away Ohtani for one, and then to buy at the deadline, and then a month later be like, oops, we kind of messed up. Oh, Trout's hurt again. Let's just get rid of these guys. Like, that's just a slap in the face.
Look, I've never been a part of an MLB organization. I am an armchair GM. But goodness, we called this when it happened. I mean, you're missing out on the boatload of prospects they could have had. Now they step back their franchise 5, 8, 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts to me.
I mean, they could have gotten probably at least a team's 2, if not 3 top prospects. You probably could have gotten back at least 2 top hitters and a top pitcher, and then a bunch of dart throws from the low minors from a team for Ohtani, and now you're going to get nothing.
And if they would have traded Ohtani in the offseason, the last offseason, it would have been double those numbers. But they messed this up completely.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a lack of communication between the maybe it's like lost in translation somewhere that they thought Ohtani was leading them on, that they were going to re-sign him or something. I don't know, but it's a shame, and I don't know what that team's going to do now, because they're about to lose Ohtani, and now I don't know. They have no prospects coming in that pipeline. They keep promoting their first round prospects or first round draft picks immediately to try to like, catapult the fan base or something. I'm not even sure what they're doing over there in LA at the moment. They're on a different planet.
Look, I'm an A's fan, and I'm glad I'm not an Angels fan. Yeah. Just because they're going through a slow death. We're like the A's are dead. But this is like a slow death where like Jason comes back and like they kill him and then he goes back and then like what? Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to completely off-rail this, but geez.
No worries. It was actually a pretty topical thing. Like I said, it just happened today, and I know it's been like kind of the talk of the baseball Twitter and the baseball world, and it's been weird to see, to say the least. Before we get into a little bit of some baseball, more baseball talk. If you haven't signed up already to become a Fantasy Six-Pack member, I'm not sure what you're doing. We have great incentives over there, including all the top-tier rankings for both baseball and football. We have a Discord that's really been ramping up lately now with the kickoff of football season, as long as a lot of dynasty questions coming in for baseball. You can get access to all that stuff by becoming a member at fantasysixpack.net/plans. It's kind of funny that you bring up the Angels, because the first topic we're going to talk about is Dynasty Fallers. And when I brought this topic to you yesterday, I'd already had a guy in mind.
Okay.
And then it became even more topical today, because my first Dynasty Faller is Lucas Giolito, who not only is Dynasty falling, but also is MLB talent falling, obviously, because nobody wants him. The White Sox, basically gave him away. And now LA's like, we don't want him after a month. I mean, this is a guy that's like, we're now, 3 years removed from, an all-star season, getting Cy Young votes, looking like that, I think it was like a top 10 pick back out of high school.
Right. Yeah.
He was really starting to come into his own like 3 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's slowly seeing a decline year over year. He's seen his strikeout to walk ratio fall over the last 3 seasons. It's actually been down to right now. It's only at 16%, which is just pretty much either average or even sub-average at this point. He's giving up a ton of home runs right now. 30 home runs on the season currently. It's still a whole month to go. Well, I shouldn't say there's a whole month to go, because he may not be on a team, but he still has at least a couple more starts left, and he's already had 30 home runs given up, which is a career worst. He's getting a ton of in zone contact right now. The chase rate's up, the hard hit rate's up, the whiff rate is down. He's just a pitcher that seems to be lost right now. And I thought maybe got traded to the Angels, and he's out of Chicago. Maybe LA can change the scenery, thing can change this guy, but might be a wolf in sheep's clothing here. I might finally be seeing what we got here out of Giolito. So for me, he's one of my top Dynasty Fallers, and admittedly, he was pushed to the top of my list because of what happened today. But I was already going to talk about him, and now I'm like, I have to talk about him.
So just so we understand, are you going to do like one and I'll do one and we just keep doing that? Because I think that's the way to go. Okay, cool. All right. So let me see, because I got a big list of fallers. Where do I start here? Gordon Graceful for the St. Louis Cardinals, right? So I was thinking like pitcher, St. Louis, done. He just looks hittable everywhere. And I keep waiting for that turning the corner, but it doesn't seem to happen. I tried to trade him a few times using the pedigree, the fact he's with the Cardinals, and I couldn't get the value that I wanted. So I'm kind of just holding on to him to just hope there's a blip up so I can get more for what I was expecting from Graceful. But right now, I mean, yikes. I mean, we're looking at a 4.4 ERA in 7 games. And it's only 73 innings pitched, right? And then on top of that, I just don't see a lot of goodness here. I mean, 67 strikeouts. Okay, that's kind of okay. And 248 average. Yeah, It doesn't scream upside to me.
Yep.
And I was putting him like probably going to get called up this year. If there was a problem, there's a ton of problems in the Cardinals rotation. But he just didn't push for it. He wasn't the Cardinals prospect I was expecting. He might work out, in the next, but it's not immediate. Maybe a year or two down the line for sure. But he's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It seemed like they kind of pushed him aggressively too. He's jumped a level every year. He's never repeated a level, which is kind of shocking. I mean, I know he's a little bit older. He was drafted at a college versus a high school, but
Right.
he kind of excelled at those lower levels. And then when he got up here into AA, a little bit of success, and AAA, not a lot of success. And I thought maybe it was because he is Rule 5 eligible.
Okay.
I think next year, not this year.
All right.
Yeah, next year, 2024, he'll be out. So I thought maybe that's why they wanted to push him along. See, if they have something, option for him going forward. Maybe keep him on that 40-man since he does not Rule 5 eligible. But at this point, they may want to just leave him out there. He might get claimed by somebody else. Because I agree, the Cardinals, they're one of those organizations that just kind of make something out of nothing. And we've seen now with Libator too, like the pitching aspect has not really been there as far as the hitting goes, as far as development goes.
And that's something we had highlighted in our NL team previews. That I was like, Cardinals pitching prospect. Just like Atlanta, they're going to turn him out. They took a big step back this year. I don't know where it was. I don't know if they lost a pitching coach somewhere or they changed the philosophy, but definitely it doesn't look like the factory that it once was.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see. I don't really have the time right now to pull it up, but I wanted to see of their top, we'll say 30 prospects on pipeline, how many of them are pitchers and how many over the last few years have even panned out? Because you're right, it must have been like some sort of development issue along the line with like coaches or whatnot. But that St. Louis pitching development has not really been there. Especially somebody that I was high on being drafted was a guy from Oregon State. I don't want to pronounce his name, but it kind of sounds like a STD. Connor Hjerpe.
Oh, the herpes. Yeah. Yes. I you know what? I hate you because that was gonna be one of my guys. But seriously though, I drafted him and I had put him right there with Graceful, right? And both of them were just. I mean, not just flat. I definitely see a decline. So next year's going to be telling whether or not I even can trade them for anything, or if I have to just kind of drop them to make a roster spot. For me, not for the Cardinals, obviously.
Right. So I'm looking now. According to Pipeline, Graceful and Hjerpe are back to back at number 6 and 7. Graceful's already been up to AAA at age 23. Hjerpe's still at high A at 22. So I don't know. They're kind of like easing him along versus Graceful. They're kind of like pushing along a little bit quicker. But
and what's the name of the other guy again? One more time, because I love how you're changing the pronunciation each time.
Cooper Hjerpe.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I just because you make me struggle during the waiver wire show pronouncing people's names. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. All right. Who's the next one?
Yeah, I got another faller. This one maybe got a long time coming. I don't know. I mean, this guy had a lot of helium coming up. That's Kevin Biggio, second baseman for the Blue Jays. This was tons of pedigree coming up. Son of a former Hall of Famer, Craig Biggio. We've seen a lot of these guys come in with their linear talent. Tatis, and even most recently with Jackson Holliday, and all these guys that have, their dads were major leaguers and they come up and just make, Vlad Guerrero Jr., all these guys. It's like he could have been the next guy in line, right? To be Bo Bichette, another one. I'm trying to think about these guys that are coming to my head now. These guys that take the next step as a father's, legacy, but he just hasn't been there. One of the things that's been like his biggest, I guess, like predominant tool was on base, and it's just been awful. He's currently got a career worst 301 OBP. Can't stay healthy. Even when he is healthy, I think they're platooning him most times because he just can't do anything at the plate. And it's usually, and this is a guy that was hovering in the minors and at college at a 400 OBP. So I mean, this is something he's obviously overmatched, and I think they've even sent him down a couple times. And I just don't know if it's ever going to click for him. And I know a lot of people have already kind of pushed him down their rankings and maybe not think of him as highly, but I think at this point he's almost unrosterable in some of these deep dynasty leagues.
So I'll own up to it. But about a year ago, for our wonderful fantasy6pack.net, I wrote an article about Kevin Biggio is a sleeper for 2022 season. I was like, you know what? Let's look at these splits. He's a slow start, but the underlying, the metrics are there. And he was so bad in the 2022 spring training. I mean, just awful. And I was like, just give him a chance. And the Blue Jays were like, nah. And they started part-time. Like you said, they platooned him. And he looks like somebody who needs those at-bats. He needs the timing. He cannot be a part-time player. And it just fell off a cliff. He couldn't play defense. He definitely wasn't hitting for power. He was striking out, and just everything fell apart. So yeah, I drafted him in a bunch of different teams for that exact reason. Because I was like, Tatis is panning out. Guerrero's panning out. I'm gonna get the next Blue Jay, guy. So I got him like the third round in bunch of places. I was like, yeah, I'm buying in. And it hurts me so bad because I wrote that article, and on top of that, there's nothing good going on with Kevin Biggio. I mean, he's bad with the glove. He's not going great with the bat. And like you said, he's not even taking a walk. He's striking out like an absurd amount of time. You're right. He's not rosterable. And until he gets traded or DFA'd, like he'd be great on the A's, because I think he'd be like a Rooker on the A's where he could just play a ton and get out of this funk and figure it out. But until that happens, waiver him.
Yep.
All right, so my next guy. Oh man, I hate you so much, Aaron. Aaron Zavala. I mean, he looked to me like last year, 2022, he had 16 home runs, 277 average, 420 OBP, 453 slugging. I was like, this guy is going to tear up AA. He's going to get to AAA and maybe get a cup of coffee. I expected him to be Evan Carter-esque. And he is nothing like Evan Carter. By the way, Evan Carter, if he's available, pick him up. He hit 5 home runs this year. Huge hit tool problems. Only 196 average. Yeah, 351 OBP. Great. 293 slugging. That's not going to do it. And you can't tell me it's a small sample size. Yes, he's only done 276 at bats. But this is insane. I mean, he missed some time, but unless he's hurt, there's just nothing going on here that I want to be a part of. Nor do I see the kind of the rocket ship that I saw previously for this. And on top of that, the other issue is the Rangers are doing great. So it's not like they are ready for, they have a bunch of open spots. Right. Evan Carter, definitely they should make a spot for. But Zavala is going to either get traded or he's just going to languish right now. Or he's definitely repeating AA. So I dropped him big time. I mean, I had him close top 100 at the beginning of 2023. This is not going to get it done. So I dropped him. He's probably in the top 200, maybe 250, maybe even lower than that.
It's funny. That's actually a really good call. I was pretty high on Zavala too. I drafted him in a lot of first-year player drafts, as high as like second round even, because coming out of college, the guy was great approach at the plate. I mean, this guy was, pushing 400 OBP in college, just batting over 300, and he's just been struggling since transitioning from college into the minor leagues. It's a good call out. And actually, admittedly, I think I even drafted him. I would even put them as one of my regrets that'll be in later segments. But so, go ahead. What are you saying?
No, I was gonna say you just call it out now. I've been talking about my regrets. I wrote a darn article about Kevin Biggio. The whole article was about Kevin Biggio.
Yeah, that's rough. I think back in maybe 3 years ago when I was doing Dynasty buys and sells, I'm pretty confident. I wrote a little segment about Biggio being a buy after that rookie year. I mean, that rookie year, he was getting rookie of the year votes. He's hitting for power, getting on base, and then something happened. I don't know. He's fallen down those rankings. So from one, I guess we're just picking on the Cardinals pitching because I was going through my list and I saw another one, but this one wasn't originally a Cardinals pitcher. He was traded this year, and that's Adam Kloppstein. Came over from Toronto. When he was with Toronto, first few years in the minors, low minors, very successful, and even in kind of just like last few years, nothing that stands out, but still a K per 9 guy. Was showing a little bit of promise early on in his career at the minors, low 8, but then once he started getting the double A, things kind of started to get a little bit rocky for him. And that's kind of where you can kind of see, who's the pitcher's true colors. The low A, it's a little bit easier. You may be a little bit older than some of those guys, but double A started to kind of level up the competition. And he's kind of just struggled a lot at double A. Last year, at double A, there was a couple stints for Toronto. The ERA is hovering around like 5, 6, not nothing spectacular.
That's good, right? The higher the better.
Yeah. So then finally Toronto this year, I think, he'd be Rule 5 eligible. So they were like, you know what? Let's trade him. Let somebody else have to deal with this headache of putting him on their roster or not. So they traded him to the Cardinals. I don't even remember what that deal was, but he was traded for a major league player at this deadline, and he's just not been panned out. He was one of those guys that I was really high on a couple years ago. He made a name for himself with the low minors with Toronto, and it's just not panned out. Again, thought maybe going to St. Louis, but that might be dry. That well might be dried up in St. Louis at this point. He's currently made 3 starts. The K rate's way down and the walk rate's way up so far with St. Louis. So small sample, but nothing promising.
So they traded Adam Kloffenstein. We're going Kloffenstein. Is that what we're picking?
Yeah, we'll go that one.
All right. And God, why can't it be somebody easy? Sam Robersi? Sure. For Jordan Hicks.
That
was what the trade was.
Yeah.
So I think the Blue Jays got the better deal here for now. I mean, it just doesn't look like there's much going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know how we were just talking about, like, look, Cardinals pitching. Prospect. Before we're getting that guy. Well, right now, all we're talking about is Orioles hitters, right? Another Orioles hitter comes up, another Orioles, and I'm going to highlight one of my risers. But we need to also let's keep it real. There is one gentleman in particular that has hurt my feelings, and Judd Fabian. Is not doing what I was expecting this year. He, he went from high A to double A, great. But there was always a concern there of strikeouts, and always a concern there of kind of a hit tool issue. And so far this year, 149 strikeouts over 2 levels. He's hitting 165 right now in double A, and that's in 50 games, 188 at bats. So again, not a small, small-ish, but not small for a season. And it'd be okay if, he was doing other places. Yes, 12 home runs, awesome. 31 walks, okay. But the 88 strikeouts, that's just too extreme for me. That puts you at a 165, 293 OBP, 394 slugging. That's not going to crack that lineup in Baltimore. I see him going somewhere else. Maybe he gets, I don't know. Like I said, what I was expecting, where I was expecting, especially after 2022. 2022, just to give you a reminder, he was 333, 455, 615. Again, that's in 22 games with 3 home runs. But we saw 19 walks and 21 strikeouts. So we're thinking hey, maybe he's kind of figuring things out. Off a cliff, just fell off a cliff. And I, again, dropping him big time in my rankings, and I will keep an eye out for him. But I'm not, the value has, 90% off where I had him.
Yeah. It's that one's it's like one of those, I don't know what we're going to call it, but an outlier of wealth, right? he was another one of these top prospects in Baltimore. Like, oh, they're gonna have all these great guys, but for whatever reason, he's the one odd man out that just hasn't panned out. Everyone else seems to be coming up that pipeline for Baltimore, except for Judd Fabian. So
it's all your fault.
Yeah, I guess so. A little bit of the same along the same line here, but we're gonna go with regrets here on the next one. That could be anything that a guy you may have dropped, you traded away, you regretted, or even just some guy that you drafted and you're like Zavala. Like that's a good regret. I was high end Zavala, drafted him second round. A lot of my first year player drafts has not panned out yet. Just any sort of regrets. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I mean, okay, so this is more of our fantasy baseball in general.
Yeah. We'll compare it to both because I have a lot of
I regret not consolidating more of my leagues under one website. I'm starting to realize that I really like Fantrax, and I can tolerate CBS, and that's about it. When I have to go to the other sites, like my focus drops, and I'm like, I don't want to be here at all. And I'm gonna don't kill me, but the NFC site is just driving me nuts. I lost all will to just do the waivers, deal with that whole their waiver section needs to improve. I can't get news. I can't quickly filter. And I look, that's where all the big leagues are. That's where all the big contests are. That's where all the big stuff for people like us, right? The writers and the people we look up to. And I just can't figure it out. And about the Razzball one was great because I only had to check in twice, and the rest was like cool, no problem.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna really focus and pare down. Like I think I was in like 50 leagues, give or take. I'm gonna pare down anything outside of Fantrax, CBS. I'm gonna have to obviously be in NFC for a couple of our just leagues that we're part of to be, so I could say that I know that guy and I look up to him and I'm going to lose to him. But man, it's tough.
Yeah, I agree. Fantrax is definitely, but if you're playing Dynasty, if you're not playing on Fantrax, I don't know. I have Fantrax for my Dynasty leagues, Fantrax, and I have one CBS league, and CBS has admittedly gotten better when it comes to prospects and stuff and their player pool, but you can't top what Fantrax does with their player pool. I mean, the minute some guy's on if he has a baseball reference page, he can be added to the player pool. So that's how deep their player pool is over at Fantrax. And I agree you need to be playing on Fantrax.
And the commissioner tools. That's kind of the big thing. Like, you want me to do this? But Fantrax does. So.
And if they don't have it now, you can they'll literally customize it for your league specifically. Like I know my one league, I've been trying to get it to switch from CBS. And one of the things that the commissioner always says is, well, one thing we're allowed to do is, so it's a weekly lineup. It locks on Sunday or Monday morning, right? Or whenever the games start on Monday. But we allow each team to make 2 subs, pitcher subs usually, or if a guy gets hurt, like a hitter. But on CBS, once your lineup locks. So the commissioner has to go in, change the lineups and stuff. Where I emailed Fantrax and said, "Oh yeah, we can do that," but here we are still playing on CBS. So that's not my decision. Right. That's somebody else's decision in that league. But they, like I said, they'll customize the league for you. So I mean, I can rock it. Give me your first one. 3 or 4 quick ones.
Go ahead.
Just like this guy that I like were high on me, even traded for. I mean, right off the bat, Ryan Valady used to be on Colorado, made an appearance of super small cup of coffee. But those first 3 seasons when he was in the low minors for Colorado, looked like he's going to be like him and Brendan Rodgers were going to be like up the middle combo for Colorado. And the lady's now been shifted off to Pittsburgh, and he can't even make Pittsburgh's open, MLB roster right now. So he's one of those guys that I've just been, just regretting in Dynasty that I've picked up, or not really picked up, I've traded for. Malcolm Nunez, who another one was on Colorado, third baseman. Was going to be a super huge power hitter at third base. Has just not panned out. He's on Pittsburgh now too. And then for redraft, I actually dropped Volpe earlier this year. Anthony Volpe, shortstop for Yankees. Dropped him after about a month of the season, and now I regret every moment of that so far.
So you dropped him in a dynasty league where somebody else can get. Oh, okay. Then you're fine.
Full redraft.
Oh, okay, you're fine.
I would never drop him in dynasty.
Okay.
Not after a month of MLB service.
Hey man, it could have been a 5-team league. Who the hell knows?
But
I'm not going to judge you yet. I might look at you, judgy, but I'm not going to judge you yet.
I want to bring this one up because I feel like I don't want to admit this, but I feel like these are the type of things that every dynasty manager goes through. Even some of the best of us. Not that I'm the best, but everyone makes mistakes. In probably 2010 or 2009, I traded Mike Trout when he was basically just barely a top 100 prospect.
Right.
So if you go back and look at his linear, progression, he was not even a top 100.
Right.
Then the next spring, he was like 75th overall in pipeline, and then all of a sudden jumped to number 1. So when he was like not even 75, I traded him. I looked it up today because I was curious. I remember exactly his name because this trade haunts me to this day. I traded him for an international signing by the name of Edward Salcedo from the Braves.
I know exactly who that is.
He has not played in the minor leagues since 2015. And that's one of those trades that, at the time, if I looked, Salcedo wasn't bad. Was he Mike Trout? Absolutely not. But you've got to take prospects with a grain of salt in Dynasty, right? Some of these guys can just come out of nowhere, and some of these guys can just fade just as quickly as those other guys come out of nowhere. So I feel like this has been a moment of AA where I just came out and told my deepest, darkest Dynasty secret in the baddest memory I have. Like I said, I still remember the guy's name. That's how bad the trade was. I look back on it to this day. It was in a Dynasty league. I don't even think he was even first year player drafted. I think I got him off the waiver wire when he was like LA's like 15th or 20th prospect in the system. And here we are 13 years later, and I'm still remembering Edward Salcedo.
I mean, just let it out. Let it out.
I today I was like, I gotta look up this guy's name. There's a stat line on, and
so if it makes you feel better, if we're gonna share, biggest regret ever.
Yeah,
I was in a first-year player draft, AL only league, and I had the first pick. I did some trades, did some cool stuff, and I drafted Rusney Castillo. I was like, this guy just got signed for $72 million by the Red Sox. The Red Sox know what they're doing. Every Cuban that's coming over with a bat is going to just rock it. Just to give you a couple names that I didn't draft. Dansby Swanson, Alex Bregman, Kyle Tucker, even Benintendi. I mean, I completely. Yeah, he never played in the majors, and I mean, from a business perspective, it makes complete sense, right? Because they didn't go over the luxury tax because he stayed in the minors and all those fun things. But yeah, that sucked. The regret I regret this year is twofold, because I feel like I didn't give the right people enough patience, and I gave the wrong people too much patience.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, and another person I wrote up. This is why they probably don't let me write anymore at Fantasy Success. Jose Miranda. I thought I gave him the Kevin Biggio love, right? OBP machine. And it's a funny story because, his cousin is, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he's going to, play such beautiful music with his bat. And initially, it kind of was good. I mean, and he had this, right when you started to hate him, he was hot. He would hit home runs and all that stuff. And then somebody gave him a mirror. I don't know, made him listen to his cousin's musicals, and he just fell off a cliff to a point where he just got banished to the minors, and he's never coming back up. Now, the person I didn't give enough, oh God, a person I didn't give enough patience to was Bryce Elder. He kind of had that iffy first 5 starts, and I was like, I don't got time for this. In one of my leagues where we only have I think it's 6 people in the bench. I mean, we have a deep minors, but we have 6 people on the bench, and I was like, there's other people I can pick up. You know, I'm going to go grab this stud, Willie Adamus, who was just killing it last year. I was thinking top 5 shortstop. Now, his end of year stats look good, but he was abysmal for a long time. And I think I also picked up somebody else. I can't even think at the moment, but nobody worth Elder. So it's one of those things where it's like you can't win. And look, end of the day, you play enough leagues, you're gonna have some sob stories. So yeah, Elder, I miss you. Please come back.
Or I think that's been enough of our regrets. Let's wash the dirty taste out of our mouth. I got a surprise for you. I don't remember when you were here last if we did this fun segment, but we're gonna kind of incorporate that third segment that we talked about with a reoccurring segment we have on this show, and it goes a little something like this.
Okay.
Down on the farm.
I don't know if you've ever seen or been a part of the Down on the Farm segment here we have in the On Deck Circle with Dave.
I haven't. This is amazing.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that. We got to watch the dirty taste out of regrets out of our mouth with a great sound drop from our one and only Dave Eddy there. But every week we used to take turns on basically spotlighting a minor leaguer that's been maybe excelling, or one that we think is gonna take that next step. So I thought as we come here, again, the end of this 2023 season, it's time to look at some, maybe some guys that might be on your waiver wire, some guys outside the top 250 you can maybe get for cheap in some of these shallower, dynasty leagues that you might be in. So I will go first. I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a first name. We'll kind of do like how we did the other ones. We'll take turns going back and forth. And the first one I'm going to talk about here is, again, don't mind the pronunciations. Juan Bin Cho, outfielder of St. Louis Cardinals. This guy, what he's been able to do as a 19-year-old at single A has actually been pretty great this year. Right now, he's only been in 96 games, which I think is pretty close to a full season there down in the minors. But he's slashing 264, 371, 377. Not the greatest, power numbers, but 60 runs scored, 28 stolen bases, and basically, he's at a low A. He's basically free. I'm sure he probably is in some of these shallower dynasty leagues, 12-team leagues, shallower roster lineups. He might even be in their waiver wire. If not, I'm sure you can get him for like a low, some low-hanging fruit, like a draft pick or like a 3rd, 4th, 5th round first-year player draft pick. Like I said, he might be in your waiver wire. So he's someone that you could probably just go take a look at on your waiver, see if he's available for you out there. Again, we're dipping back into that Cardinals farm system for some reason. I'm not sure what the linking.
I can't quit you.
That wasn't intentional. That wasn't intentional. Not I've said like our 4th guy in the minor leagues for the Cardinals, but if it's one thing that they have been able to develop, and that's hitters. So he's a hitter, not a pitcher. So look out there.
You did that on purpose. You set me up this whole time, and you're like, yeah, the Cardinals suck. Cardinals look. By the way, this one Cardinals guy is amazing. I freaking love him. All right. So, my guy. I have been beating this drum for a year. And I don't mind going back to the Orioles after we just talked bad about, some of the bad Orioles. But Connor Norby does not get the love that he deserves. In a lot of places, he's, outside the top 100, outside the top 150. He's got an amazing power stroke that he's shown for 2 seasons in a row. So in 2022, he was in high A, then went to double A, and then went to triple A. So that's three levels. And he had 29 home runs, hit 279, 360, and 526 for 886 OPS. So I was like, man, he's giving me triple A this year. Are those real numbers? Took him a little time to get adjusted, but in 118 games, he's had 16 home runs, 75 RBIs. He's holding his own against all this other Orioles talent. 284 average, 345 OBP, 463 slugging, and an 808 OPS. Give me all of that. A slugging hero. I just don't see how they don't find space for him. And he also steals bases, even though he's like an average speed runner. He's stealing bases as well. He has 8 this year again. So double digits. I love him, Connor Norby. Now he's second base, but let's be honest, they're going to just try to shove him somewhere in that crazy lineup. But I think next year for sure they're going to give him a chance.
Yeah, no, good call. Another one of those organizations that just continue to churn out prospects, and if you're going to bank on one, might as well go with one of those guys, those organizations that can do that. The next guy here is going to be another one of those organizations that churns out some sort of prospect, whether it be hitting or pitching. We're going to talk about a pitcher. That's going to be Maddox Bruns for the Dodgers. This guy's a big, tall guy, lefty, 6'2", 205. When you look at the ERA, it's a little misconstrued. He is the first-round pick in 2021, so he's got a little bit of pedigree there. He's got a bunch of great stuff, some high-end velo. He's got a really good curveball. Right now, the walks have just been struggling, which is probably the reason for the inflated ERA is the walks. He's at almost 7 walks per 9 right now, which is obviously no bueno. But when he makes up in the walks, he makes up with the strikeouts. He's a huge strikeout guy. He's really taking that leap this year. He's got 118 Ks in 90 innings. He's only given up 6 home runs, and all those have come with his recent promotion. So maybe a little bit of a learning curve, because only 6 home runs in 90 innings is pretty good numbers. So see if he's out there. Again, another guy that's probably outside the top 150, and especially maybe even a little bit of the deeper leagues. He might be able to, depending on how many, some leagues only let you roster like 5, 10 minors. So he could be available in your waiver.
So I want to go to somebody who's well known, but a lot of people have forgotten him. Austin Martin.
Oh,
so he was a key return from the Twins in the Barrios trade, right? And he was terrible. Let's be honest. And he's been hurt a lot this season. He's only played 36 games. But there's a lot of good news there. 124 at-bats at the time. And, we're looking at above a 350 OBP, above a 400 slugging. I know the bar is low, but the pedigree there. It was never that he was just terrible. It's just that where we had him, he had a lot of helium. Where we had him and where he was going was not the same. He's picking up homers in the last week. He homered in a bunch of different games. Had a 7-game hitting streak recently. 8, and it was reaching base on 18 straight. Almost every game in August that he played in. This is somebody who they're going to give a run to. They invested too much for him to kind of be forgotten. Some of these other players that we talked about earlier, the capital maybe isn't there, and they're like, you know what, we'll just let them languish in high A or double A. Austin Martin, they want to succeed. And they might change his position, but that bat can play. And I didn't see him being at the level that he was a year and a half ago. I thought that was just too much helium. But where they dropped him, where he's been dropped, top 300, top 400, moved almost 300, spots down. That's too low. There's talent there still, and I'm sure he's on your waiver wire. I'm sure it could be had for next to nothing. Go fleece somebody. Give them, the 4th round pick that you have in the first of your player draft, and I guarantee you can't find somebody there that's not better than Austin Martin.
That's a good call. That's a top 5 overall pick just a few years ago. That's just gone forgotten since he went over to Minnesota. And he's got an 8-something OPS this year already, so it's not like he's been awful. He's just one of those forgotten names, which is funny because when we started, we didn't share names that we were going to talk about, and I think it's so funny that you brought up a guy that's like a top 5 pick who's kind of been forgotten about or overlooked. Because my next guy I'm going to talk about is similar to situation, and that's Cleo Watson. He was a top 5 pick overall. While the numbers aren't as sexy as Austin Martin, this is more of a buy low situation because Cleo Watson's been pretty bad. However, I don't know if he's gotten this fair shake of the stick. He's just never really had that full season. Even right now, he's only appeared in 72 games, 75 games. The speed is real. He's gotten double-digit stolen base seasons in there, and he's only ever been in complex or high A. So, I mean, if he could just stay healthy and stay on the field, there's something that was in this profile that made him be a top 10 pick. And that's somebody that I'm willing to go out on a limb and try and grab or find out off my waiver or get for really cheap. I'm sure the Watson owner at this point is probably like, I'll take anything for this guy. So if you can get him for even like a third or fourth round pick, depending on who the owner is and how wealthy they are as far as dynasty value, dynasty assets go, this is somebody you can get up because recently he was just traded from Miami to Cleveland. And so there's a good chance that it's hard to say that a change here is going to do good because both Miami and Cleveland are good at the developing players. However, Miami's been a little bit better at developing the hitters, where Cleveland's basically only been like pitchers basically. But I'm still willing to take that gamble on a guy that was a top 5 pick just like 2 years ago. So for me, it's a great buy low opportunity for Cleo Watson. It's similar to Austin Martin. Is it's almost forgotten about at this point of that class. A lot of those guys you don't even hear about too much anymore. Marcelo Mayer, you don't even hear about. Jordan Lawler, you hear a little bit about, but those 3 guys were supposedly can't miss. Don't get me wrong, Cleo Watson did fall. I looked, he just fell. He was a 16th overall pick. He was, getting mocked in the top 5 with Lawler and Marcelo Mayer. But I think he's somebody you can get for relatively cheap on the low as Cleo Watson.
So I am doing something that I hate. I'm going to talk about a pitcher. And I hate that. If you ever watch the waiver wire show, I hate pitchers. Just because I always end up getting the wrong one. But I love this because there's a bunch of different pieces here that scream value. So we're talking about somebody who was taken after Clark Schmidt. Let's see if you can figure out who this is. Because Clark Schmidt was going to go below slot, bonus value because he was coming off Tommy John in 2017. So they used the money that they saved, New York Yankees, to get Matt Sauer. Only problem is, in 2019, he blew out his elbow right when he was doing the full season, debut. And he was, considered one of the strikeout leaders in the Yankees and everything. And as we know, Tommy John surgery means probably about 2 years. I don't care how fast you come back, but just to build up your speed, build up your innings. And this year, he's gone. Not crazy, but he did have a great time right now in Double-A. So he had to have some rehab in rookie and high ball, and it was just like, okay, this is way too low. In Double-A, he is a 403 average in 10 games, and he's right now doing had 54 strikeouts. He's had 21 walks, but that all adds up to a 217 average, 128 whip with the 403 ERA, which are, again, ERA by itself doesn't mean anything unless you look at his other. I think next year is key. He's going to be 3 years removed from his Tommy John. And as a young guy still, right, and with an organization that has Severino being, well, I wouldn't say hurt. Well, yes, hurt, but he fell off a cliff. We also have Nestor Cortez, who is, we don't know what the heck's going on there. Is he hurt or what? But, he just, again, also fell off a cliff in the second half. Well, almost right before the All-Star break. There's a lot of openings in that rotation. Yes, they're going to go out and buy some people. But they also have to deal with some of these prospects. Either Matt Sauer's going to get traded or he's going to be brought up. And I think that he definitely has the pedigree as somebody that they put in a bunch of money in over slot. They knew that he was somebody who had the talent. Obviously, he got hurt, and he's coming back. And I think 2024 is going to be a big year for him.
And that's a good one, too, because, pitching prospects, they get hurt. Especially with Tommy John, they're gone out of people's sight, out of mind, right? For a year and a half, 2 years. And then these guys come back, and they can make an impact on some of these organizations, and you can get them for pretty cheap because the owner probably didn't realize what kind of season he's been having because he's not been in the news for the last 2 years, a year and a half. So good call out on the Sours. All right, well, JP, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the On Deck Circle. Again, it was a pleasure for you, filling in.
It was a pleasure for me. You're right.
It's a pleasure to have you on here again. We always have a ton of fun when we're on here, and then who knows? Maybe we'll have you back again. I feel like we got some mojo flowing here.
Well, you keep teasing me that you might bring me back, and I think I have to knock off your co-host occasionally. It wasn't my fault that I kind of put something extra in his drink, so whatever. So anytime he needs, so for his next marriage or his next honeymoon, whatever, call me back.
Yeah, absolutely. If not, we'll definitely have we'll work our way to have a 3-way going here sometime in the next near future. For the show, man. For the show.
Sure, right, yeah, sure. For the views. For the views. So our OnlyFans can be found at on the deck circleonlyfans.com.
All right, Chief. We'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Thanks so much.